Hi, how are you today? We've moved on to chapter 6, which as you can see is called the Janus principle. For quite a number of you, I guess, you'll be saying, I haven't a clue what this means. It's really quite simple. Janus was a Roman god, and here he comes, who had this wonderful ability to look many ways simultaneously. He frequently featured on the doorposts of houses, and he was supposed to look outside to make sure that everything was safe and look inside to make sure that everything was okay. So he had the ability to look many ways simultaneously. Now, to our way of thinking today, this seems a little unusual, to put it mildly, but we do it all the time. In fact, we can't have a successful life unless we continuously look in more than one direction. Let me give you some examples from 4 areas. In the area of sport, you may be playing for a low sort of league, you understand, just a local parish league or something like that. But that doesn't preclude you from giving your best to that league and simultaneously to aspiring to become, let's say, an international superstar. In terms of children's education, we're always looking lots of ways simultaneously at their short-term results. How did they do in school today? How are they going to do at the end of the year? What school are they going to go to when they finish this school? What are they going to do at university? So you're always looking several ways at once. In terms of careers, it would be a most unusual person who doesn't really do their best for the firm that they're working in and simultaneously be striving to go to a firm in which they think they'll have better prospects. They're looking a lot of ways at once. And finally, there's lots more of examples, but finally, in terms of this presentation, finances, where we've got, if you like, the daily grind of finding enough money to live, and also the long-term commitments that we have in terms of mortgages, paying off cars, all those sorts of things. It's entirely natural to look several ways at once. It just seems to me that in human thought, it's not delineated neatly. There are many, many, many issues that swish around all the time, and successful individuals are the ones who prioritize them in the best fashion. They never stop swishing around. And in strategic management, we have the same sort of thing. There's all these issues swishing around the heads of people who are engaged in senior management, and to be successful, you have to prioritize them all the time. Let me give you some examples of how we look several ways at once when we're looking at strategic management. We look at long-term things, for example, what is the value of this company going to be in 5 years' time? And short-term things, how are we going to boost our market share? We look at strategic issues and operational issues. We look at strategy, we look at human resources, we look at marketing, we look at finance. They all go around in a bit of a mess, really. And the successful managers are the one who prioritize most effectively. Once again, looking at it slightly differently, we've got the broad posture of the firm versus the detail of the firm. What's our overall market position? What's the position of particular products? We've got the total firm versus departments. One bit of the firm may be successful, another bit may be relatively unsuccessful. What's the overall firm doing? We've got the long run issues and the short run issues, and we've got issues which are impacting on the firm which are external, and we've issues which are impacting on the firm which are internal. In terms of the strategy compass, there's a few perspectives there that I think are really important. First of all, we need to look down at the markets that the firm is addressing and up at the corporate guidelines that we're given. We need to look internally into the firm to see how well our operations and our strategy are, and external to see how well we're fitting with our environment. We have to look backwards to see what we have done in the past, and more importantly, we have to look forwards to see what we're going to do in the future. So here's how it applies to this particular model of strategic management. We look down at the markets that are addressed, we look down at our competitive position, and in addition to looking downwards, we should be looking upwards. Looking upwards towards the company's asset utilization. How well are its overall assets being used? Looking upwards towards the leadership of the company. How effective or how good is the leadership of this company? And we can penultimately take a more regular view of this, because if we look at this diagram, this is the sort of common structure that many companies have. And once again, we can look downwards to see how well we are addressing our markets. We can look downwards to see our competitive position relative to our rivals. We can look upwards to make an assessment of our asset utilization. We can look upwards to make an assessment of our leadership. And that actually brings us full circle to the strategy compass. And here we have the strategy compass with the Janus perspective included, looking downwards towards the markets, towards the competitive position, looking upwards towards the asset utilization and the leadership. This more or less concludes this podcast, which has as its central tenet that all effective managers must simultaneously look in many directions. It just remains for me to acknowledge, as usual, that the hardware, the software and the music is mainly Apple-based. And finally, to thank you for listening to this podcast and to hope that it stimulates you to look at some more. And once again, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye. Goodbye.